All right, Mike. Hey, I'm here in the studio with Amy Donaldson. Some of you may know her as the writer for Deseret News that covers a lot of these 1A sporting events. Just to give you a little background on Amy Donaldson covers high school sports, Winter Olympic sports, as well as outdoor and recreation. She started Deseret News in 1991 covering night police corrections.
Yep.
And switched to sports in January of 2000.
I did indeed, yeah.
What's corrections on that?
I covered the prison. I covered an execution. I covered correctional issues at the legislature.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Huh.
not quite as fun as 1A sports.
Yeah, well, it could be pretty wild
Yeah.
in 1A sports, can it?
Yes, it can be. And my crime covering background has come in handy sometimes in the sports world.
Yeah.
Not so much in 1A, but.
Well, hey, we appreciate you taking some time to come meet with us. First off, we want to thank you for your willingness to cover the 1A sports. And
My
if
pleasure.
any of our viewers have read Amy's articles on Deseret News, she's here staying late after the games to really tell our story. And from a 1A, I grew up playing 1A basketball, so did Mike. We've been in gyms, I don't know how many years, but we feel like you get us. You understand us.
Well, I feel a connection. I didn't grow up in a small town, but I always say I come from a long line of rednecks. And to me, that is a compliment.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I love, both my parents are from small towns. My dad's from Grantsville, my mom's from Heber City, and then their relatives are from Tropic, Utah. So, yeah.
What's the family name from Tropic?
Bybee,
Bybee?
Campbell, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we might be related. My wife's related to all the Bybees.
See, I've been finding relatives,
Probably
cousins.
met some there.
Cousins,
Rod
you
Sired,
know.
our cameraman.
And as you know, like cousins, it doesn't matter how many years removed or how many second, third, fourth, you're still cousins.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we appreciate it because we feel like you understand us.
Yeah, love it. Love coming to small towns. Love that it's a community event. It's totally different than covering games on the Wasatch Front where competition is center stage. Go out to the rural communities, and really it's about the experience that everybody's having.
So tonight's matchups between probably the two smallest schools in 1A, Bryce Valley and Tabiona. At least a couple of the smallest.
I've been to smaller. They're on the small end, though. You're right.
They're on the
Yeah.
small end. It's kind of like a Hoosier moment, and I'll tell you, everybody in the community comes out. I don't know if there will
Yeah.
be many people left at home to
Yeah,
come
don't-
watch the game.
Yeah, don't tell that, right?
Yeah, you don't want to broadcast that.
I've had experiences where the entire town has been here and something has happened back home, but
Yeah.
interestingly, other small towns rally to their aid. So, it's
Yeah.
something you guys do for each other.
Yep, exactly. So we got a couple of questions for you to get to know you.
Yeah.
How long have you been covering the 1A tournaments?
I've been covering the 1A tournament since I started in sports, so 18 years is my
18 years. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. What is about 1A sporting events that you enjoy the most?
Just that it's not just about the game on the court. Like, I love great athletic feats. I love great competition. We saw some great games last night. I love to see people push themselves and sort of just excel, just, do amazing things physically. But I also love the idea that there's always more of a connection. And in 1A, you guys seem more willing, and really in the rural sports community, to reveal yourselves, to say, hey, this is who we are. Love us or not, but we'll embrace you. I mean, every time I go cover, remember the first rural sporting event I covered was at Rich High School, and 3 different people that I never met before that night offered to let me spend the night at their house.
Wow, that's
So,
cool.
and then, I have the same experience everywhere I go. Do you need a place to eat dinner? Do you need to send your, back in the day when we didn't have MiFi everywhere or Wi-Fi everywhere, do you need to use my computer at my house? Do you need to use my telephone? Small town clerks would let me use their fax machine lines to send my
cool.
stories. So just the welcome that you get, and that it means so much to them that it makes it more important to me.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's great, and we feel that way, and it is a great uniting, kind of
Yeah.
unites the communities and the regions too. I think you'll see some from each region cheering for the
One
team
of
they would normally want to
exactly.
be.
Region 19 is a prime example of that. Every single year, those kids, whether they get beat out or not, they stay, they cheer for their opponents, the same people that they tried to beat all season.
Exactly.
They're here in the front row, cheering for the kids by name, using chants that their fans use, sitting with their fans. It's unlike anything you see on the Wasatch
It
Front.
is really. So just a couple of questions more. Do you have any memorable tournaments that stand out as you've covered this for 18 years?
You know what? Everyone is unique. Like, I've never had one where I thought, oh, that was just, I'm so glad that's over. You know, I have thought that on occasion at other sporting events I've covered, but the Olympics and the 1A boys and girls tournament, and I haven't covered the boys as long because I only covered girls when I first started. But when it came available that I could cover boys 1A as well, I jumped at the chance.
Jumped right on
Yeah,
it.
I didn't know that. See, I don't cover the boys any other time. So I come down here basically blind. I haven't seen them. I haven't talked to them. And honestly, some of my best experience have been covering those 1A tournaments. Like we talked about last night, Bryce Valley winning their first championship when Coach Jessen was there.
Yeah.
Both Tom Wharton from the Tribune and I in tears writing our stories because it was such an emotional, such a fantastic athletic event, and then layer on top of it all the stories with Stan Young retiring, that was his last game, and Coach Jessen having lost his son, and the way the community rallied around him. Just for me, it was just, I almost couldn't see because I couldn't ask questions. I just walked around with my recorder and people talked to me.
Yeah,
So,
and I would agree. That's probably my most memorable. I had a son on that team who was good friends with Jessen's son, and to see us come through and win that, and holding his jersey up, and the one boy dyeing his hair red, and
yeah.
called him Big Red. I mean, that's probably my most memorable, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
You'd referenced that one. So let's get to know Amy a little bit better.
Okay,
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
sure.
You participate in any athletics when you're in high school?
I did. In fact, the only reason I graduated from high school was because you had to have a 2.0 to play sports. So I was definitely that kid. I had learning disability, and so I didn't really love school. And sports is what got me to school. You could miss a certain number of days every quarter. I missed exactly that number every quarter. And were it not for some great coaches and some creative teachers, I probably wouldn't have even considered college. But I played everything. My favorites, volleyball, basketball, and I ran track. But softball was my family sport. We played as a family from the time I was about 8 years old. And, I still play. So.
You know, we hear that argument today about athletics and education. We've heard that from so many people as we've covered games and talked to people that, you know, it motivates them to do better in the classroom. And I've seen that across many teams and,
Yeah.
you know, many different people. Okay, who's your favorite NBA team? You follow
I don't
NBA?
love the NBA. I'm going to be honest and say I don't love the NBA. When I was a kid, it was Boston because my dad and I had this sort of contentious relationship. So whatever team he loved, which he loved the Lakers, I chose the Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
He loved the New York Yankees, so I cheered for LA. So the
All
Dodgers.
right,
So
yeah.
so those are but that's the interesting thing about being a sports fan or a sports writer. You don't really buy into the fandom as much. I have been a Broncos fan most of my life, so I'm more a fan of players, and I was a big Peyton Manning fan, so when he went there, that was kind of my dream come true, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, not too much of a fan.
Okay, do you still participate in any sporting events?
I run. I've taken to endurance running the last 10 years, something I never thought I would do. I used to try to get out of the running workouts. I actually think I've written about that, all the creative excuses that I came up with to try to get out of the workouts, because I'm not really a practicer. I'm much more of a gamer. So I've had to kind of learn that, and running will teach you that faster than anything because you can't fake it. You know,
Yeah, you
can have some talent and get by in other sports, but in running, if you don't put in the time, it's going to hurt.
So have you ever ran the Bryce Half Marathon? They're one of our sponsors.
I haven't,
major
but
sponsors.
listen, there's a couple races
We're challenging
down there.
you.
I want to run it.
Bryce Canyon Half Marathon.
Yeah, I'm running Monument Valley at the 50 miler at the end of March.
Oh, just 50 miles.
Just 50 miles. But I've been dying to do it. This is the first year that it's been my schedule's allowed it. But when is the Bryce Half? See?
It's third weekend or second weekend in July. Mike's holding two fingers up.
See?
Second weekend in July.
I could do that.
All right.
I love
give
any
us a
excuse.
call.
Any excuse to come to Bryce
All
Valley.
right,
I'm
great,
there.
great.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time with us and being able to get to know you a little bit more. And we appreciate you covering us. And
Well, thank you for your
and
support.
it's really great.
Yeah.
Your write-ups are excellent. We have them shared all over.
And I
it's
will
really
say,
great.
if there's parents watching or grandparents, like I couldn't do the stories I do if parents didn't tell me anything about these kids, because they're not they don't brag. They're not self-promoters.
Yeah.
So somebody has to tell me about interesting things happening on the team or with the coaches. So I appreciate all the fans, seriously, who let me know about the great stories on their teams. And the grandparents are the best source. Parents are pretty good,
Yeah,
but they're a little more
parents.
biased.
Yeah.
But they, honestly, they've been great sources for me, and I couldn't do my job. And it's been really a life-changing. I always say my job is like going to church, because I learned so much from these kids and these communities and the coaches. Coaches have literally taught me more about parenting than any book I've ever read. So it's just been my absolute privilege and pleasure.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate you taking a little time this morning to come and talk to us. And Mike, that's going to do it for us here in the studio. We'll send it back to you.